Hi, welcome to the Property Show. I'm Jayashree Kurup. I'm editor MBTV. I have with me Surbhi Arora. She's the head of research on Magic Bricks. At a time when there is good news in the market, in the real estate market, we bring to you the Prop Index, which actually kind of cements the good news. And we thought we should discuss this because there is definite movement in the market. Discussing this with us is Praveen Jain. He's the vice chairman, Naredco National. Thank you, Praveenji, for joining us. Amit Oberoi, he's the executive director at Colliers International. Thanks, Amit, for joining us. Rajni Sinha, chief economist and national director research on Knight Frank India. Thanks, Rajni, for coming in here. And Errol Fernandez, secretary, CREDAI Bengaluru. Thank you, Errol, for joining us. Surbhi, would you like to state what our report has shown and maybe even give your presentation, and then we'll take it up from here.
Sure, Jayashree, thank you. So, Deepak, can we have our presentation, please?
Yes, sir. We're just sharing it.
So before going into the details of 2020 insights, I would like to give some context about the research and real-time data analytics we do at Magic Bricks. Being India's #1 online property portal, we have access to extensive real-time data of not only buyers, but also of all the stakeholders like owners, developers, and agents. We analyze this platform data, which captures the search pattern of about 29 million plus monthly visitors. In other words, it's about 3 crore monthly visitors. We also have extensive property listing data. As the data set is huge, we use the data analytics tools such as Google Analytics and Tableau to capture demand, supply, price, and locality level trends in residential market. Not only this, we also do extensive one-on-one qualitative interviews and sentiment surveys with various stakeholders. All these trends are presented in a precise manner in our interactive Tableau-based quarterly Prop Index report for 12 major cities. So this was about the methodology and the source of information. Now let me present some key insight about residential sector in 2020. Next slide, please, Deepak. So first of all, I would like to talk about demand. In order to get the demand dynamics, we use search volume, that is website traffic on Magic Bricks as an indicator. So if we look at the last 9 to 10 month traffic patterns, it was a roller coaster ride for us. The property searches went down as much as 50% in April, but thankfully it turned out to be a little pause. And we saw quick recovery, or I would like to call it a V-shaped recovery in property search post-July. We are currently about 30 to 40% up than the pre-COVID level. And at city-wise, if we see, MMR is leading the traffic chart, followed by cities like Kolkata, Hyderabad, Pune. There is a sustained traffic growth even after the festive season. So it is pretty evident that most of the cities are showing sustained high search volumes. Now, the most obvious question is, who is driving this demand? Next slide, please, Deepak. So we did 3 sentiment survey in the last 9 months, where about 5,000 high intent buyers participated. The survey indicates that first time home buyers are still dominating the market. And, but interestingly, we also saw increase in opportunistic searches by investors. There are repeat buyers, and what I mean by repeat buyers here is the people looking to upgrade to bigger and better houses. This was the findings of our survey, and interestingly, the data also support this survey finding. Next slide, please. So there is a clear demand shift from 2 BHKs to 3 BHK in last 1 year. Demand for 4 BHK and above has been almost double in 2020. Almost all cities are showing this trend. But if we see this trend is more evident in affordable cities such as Hyderabad, Kolkata, Ahmedabad, and Chennai, where there was a maximum shift towards bigger configuration. Next slide. Interestingly, buyers have not changed the budget much. About 70% of the people are still looking for houses below 1 CR. And this percentage in 2019 was also about the same, indicating that there is no major shift in budgets. The most searched property size was 1,000 to 1,300 square feet, which is a size of a typical 2 BHK, 2+1, or a compact 3 BHK apartment in metro city, which is most in demand. In terms of furnishing, Majority of buyers are still prefer to get their interior done by themselves. Typical amenities such as security, power backup, club, gym, they are all preferred by most of the buyers in 2020 also. But in 2020, we saw some new amenity preference, and that is probably enforced by the pandemic work from home culture, such as internet-enabled complex, conference or business center within the complex, medication room. There are increased searches for these kind of amenities. Now, let's look at the supply level. Deepak, can we go to next slide? Yeah. So at Magic Bricks, by supply, we mean number of listing in primary as well as secondary sales market. If we look at the graph, there was a steep fall of about 43% in quarter two. And what we believe that lockdown, inability to visit site, there was panic in the market. Because of this, we saw this kind of drop. But the supply have improved significantly in quarter four during the festive season. Both new launches, increase in secondary market listing contributed to this increase, but overall supplies is still lagging behind pre-COVID level. City-wise, MMR and Pune witnessed maximum increase in supply, while all tier cities are at least 10% above than the previous level. Our data also suggests that supply is very well complementing the demand, and there is a growth in supply of premium and bigger configuration houses. Now let's look at the price trend. Next slide. Yeah. So despite a lot of speculation during in the beginning of the pandemic, there was a lot of speculation and expectation of price drop, but prices have not decreased much in 2020. And the good news is market gained most of the price loss incurred during pandemic. Quarter two was the quarter where we saw 1.5% average decline in the market. Prices have started increasing in quarter three, but the trend is more visible in quarter four with 0.8% average increase. City-specific trends are also quite encouraging. High inventory market like Delhi and Mumbai are also leading the price increase, while affordable markets are also gaining momentum. So price-wise also, we are pretty strong. Next slide, please. So it is quite evident that the fundamental key factors such as demand, supply, price, all dynamics are in positive territory. There is a pent-up demand of 2020, and there is a high probability that it will get converted into transaction in 2021. So to sum up, some of the key factors that may work well for real estate in 2021 are, first, investors are actively looking at property market. Generally, in troubled times, property ownership is perceived as safeguard against value erosion. Interest rates are all-time low. Technology adoption is making property buying faster. So we interacted with number of developers, and all of them are agreeing that site visits are relatively less. But at the same time, the conversion rates have increased. The initial search and selection of options, discussions, these all are happening through online medium. Video tours are becoming popular. Beside a lot of processes, government is also doing it bit in adoption of technology. So a lot of processes such as payment of government fees, applying for mutation, a lot of paperwork has become online. Registry is still, process where you have to go, but a lot of processes they have shifted towards online. So looks like real estate is now well placed to play a key role in overall recovery. And in fact, real estate can be the force multiplier for economy in 2021. So that's all from my side. Jayashree, over to you.
Thanks, Surbhi. And that sets the tone for today's discussion. There's clearly optimism as far as supply goes, as far as demand goes. So let's talk about what's happened on the ground. I have Ajay Asher, who has joined us from Maharashtra. Clearly, Maharashtra's policy interventions work very, very well, right? So Ajay, would you talk about why the supply and demand in Maharashtra has gone up so much? Very briefly. This is just an opening round.
Yeah. Basically, three things have happened in Maharashtra, which has not happened anywhere in the whole of the country. The state has been playing a very, very proactive role. It has identified that there is a need to really help the real estate industry, and helping the real estate industry is reviving the economy. That is the goal that we have been able to talk to the policymakers in the state, and they have been convinced. Actually, what all of us tried to convey is we use the good offices or from the
Talk about
MCHI
what
credit.
came through. Ajay, actually talk about the interventions. It's more important than what the
Yeah, the intervention.
about.
Yeah, yeah. The intervention. What happened was number one. Everybody knows that the ready reckoner rate, the stamp duty was brought down, which has given a tremendous boost to the sales on the ground level. The kind of sales which was unprecedented has happened, which was not expected. Secondly, the just recently taken the initiative of premiums being cut to 50%. So what in effect has happened because of these two things, that the cost of production has gone down, and the premium is also linked with the sales. The developers who are availing premium will bear the stamp duty now. So in effect, what has happened is the stamp duty relief is continuing for the entire year or for the project itself, which is a big boost by the government, very smartly done, which will help the common man tremendously and also help developers in reducing the cost and help the cash flows. Both these things are happening tremendously. Secondly, there is a big positivity because of the new unified DCR which has come, which has also given a tremendous boost to all the developers.
What
And
is
in
the
turn,
impact of that? What is the impact of the unified DCR?
the unified DCR, the impact is that there is going to be abundant supply in the market. The abundant supply will result, not only has the supply going to be increased, but also all the laws have been simplified in such a way that all the hurdles which were there in getting the permissions have been removed. For example, the high-rise committee has been totally scrapped, and so many things which were hindering the permissions have been removed. As a result, approval will become faster.
Sure. Now, Praveenji, I'd like to bring this to you. Three major things that seem to boost the market big time. One is that you've reduced the stamp duty, you've reduced the premiums, and processes have been streamlined. Is this something we will see on the national level?
ये नेशनल लेवल पे बात करें तो 2-3 स्टेट्स ने स्टैम्प ड्यूटी कम किया है। बाकी सभी लोगों से सारे स्टेट से हम लोगों ने डिमांड किया था कि स्टैम्प ड्यूटी कम करें, उसका इम्पैक्ट आता है। और हम काफ़ी टाइम से कहते जा रहे हैं कि रियल एस्टेट को अगर आप इम्प्रूव करेंगे तो बाकी और इंडस्ट्रीज भी इम्प्रूव होंगी। अगर कंट्री की रिवाइवल के लिए, इकोनॉमी की रिवाइवल के लिए ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि रियल एस्टेट को हम आगे लेके आएँ। कुछ स्टेट्स ने तो, कर्नाटक ने किया है, महाराष्ट्र ने किया है, यूपी से बात चल रही है, हरियाणा से बात चल रही है। मगर इसके अलावा जो अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग का जो प्रमोट किया है गवर्नमेंट ने, हरियाणा में बात करें तो दीनदयाल लेके आए ये लोग अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग के अंदर 20 लाख। ये जो इस तरह की पॉलिसीज हैं, मुझे लगता है उसका काफी इम्पैक्ट आ रहा है और उसकी वजह से डिमांड क्रिएट हो रही है।
Do you see this kind of consumer demand on the ground in other cities as well, in other states as well?
अदर स्टेट्स अगर बात करें, पूना के अंदर बात करें या फिर कर्नाटक में बात करें, कर्नाटक में बहुत अच्छा देखने को मिला है। महाराष्ट्र में इम्प्रूव है बाजार। उड़ीसा के अंदर देखें तो उड़ीसा में भी काफ़ी इम्प्रूवमेंट है। और कोविड की वजह से मुझे लगता है कोविड का एक इम्पैक्ट ये भी है कि हर एक लोगों को लगने लगा है ये कि उनका अपना घर होना चाहिए। ये मुझे लगता है काफ़ी पॉजिटिव मूव रहा रियल एस्टेट के लिए।
Errol, both of them referred to Karnataka. Would you like to tell us what's happening on the ground in Karnataka? Have you seen the same kind of upbeat sentiment?
Yes, sir. The sales traction has picked up tremendously since June. We've seen month-on-month increases in sales. Of course, part of it is due to the pent-up demand. And I think largely not just in Karnataka, but all over India, we've been a turn in the business cycle, right?
Yeah.
So with a pickup in the economic cycle, real estate is one of the first sectors to benefit.
Yeah.
So people have more confidence in the economy of the country, in themselves, in holding jobs. So sales have improved a lot, and we expect it to sustain over the coming quarters.
Rajni, you have been doing a lot of research on your own. You're also an economist. Tie the two together. There are people who've lost jobs. There are people who have had salary cuts. But the consumer clearly has decided that real estate is the house is the one thing that they will spend on. Tell us what your trends tell us.
So, like my fellow panelists have been saying, it's not just real estate sector, the economy has started recovering. So if I look at all parameters, they have started improving specifically in the fourth quarter of 2020. So consumers were a little hesitant about their future income streams because people were not sure whether they'll be able to retain their jobs. But that confidence has slowly started coming back into the consumers, and that's resulting in increased spending, and we're seeing that in all parameters. And in fact, one concern was that is all of this pent-up demand and how much of it is going to be sustained going forward. So in fact, as far as the economic indicators are concerned, we saw some slowing down of momentum in the month of November. And then we were thinking, is the momentum slowing down because of pent-up demand now going out of the market? But then again, we have seen in December things picking up, economic indicators jumping back. So looks like this growth momentum is going to be sustained. But yes, we'll have to see at what level. Will it be sustained at this November, December level where we had a lot of pent-up demand? Or it could be at a little lower level than the peaks that we have seen in December. But definitely with the economy opening up, people getting more confident about their future income streams, businesses getting more confident about their revenue streams, things are definitely going to improve from here.
Okay. Amit, we have seen that normally there is a very close relationship between commercial and residential. Commercial had a real good bull run before the pandemic struck. Now, we can see that residential sentiment is very high. Is commercial sentiment also backing it up?
So commercials not been, I wouldn't be as bullish on commercial sentiments at this point of time. Things are a little bit on the flux right now, so to say. There is uncertainty with what will happen with work from home, when do we get back to offices. So it will take a little bit of more time for commercial to start picking up. I think by the time that you have the second quarter, when we know that the vaccine starts being given out to the common person, when companies will have to start making decisions on what they want to do with their office space. We will have to start taking decisions whether 20% people will be working from home. And when you come back to office, will we be maintaining some sort of social distance? I don't think we are going to go back in time where we will be shaking hands anymore. Probably that's gone. That's something that is something that has come on. So there will be more clarity on what happens probably June onwards. I am not pessimistic about it, but I'm not very optimistic either. So I think it's a little bit in the flux. I think there will be some amount of clarity in another quarter's time. I do see we've had about 34 million square feet absorption last year, which is down by about 15-20 million from previous years, and I'm talking about gross absorptions. I do see a similar year this year as well. I do see the market picking up in 2022 for sure. But this is a year when there will be more clarity that we will get. Commercial real estate's loss is probably going to be picked up by residential real estate. People working from home now need that extra space. So that's why people are looking for that extra house, a slightly bigger house. 3 BHK, I just went through the Magic Brick report. 3 BHK seems to be that the size that everyone's preferring. Maybe one of the rooms can be your office space now going forward. Also, just wanted to point out that home loan rates are at 7.5%. Approximately. That's another huge reason why people want to buy. Also, if you're working from home, you're not traveling, you're saving a lot of money. So those who still have their jobs have, I wouldn't say wealth creation, but yes, they've created some degree of wealth. And there is now the feeling that, the economy is opening up. So it's a good time to be investing, and you've got a little bit of cushion in terms of your savings in the last year or so that you want to spend. And you've seen the worst and you're very hopeful that will be much better going forward.
Surabhi, you talked about at the city levels. Let's drill down a little deeper. In the cities, traditionally we've seen, especially the IT cities, most of the demand used to come along the IT corridors. Take Bangalore, it was entirely IT driven, or in other places there would be some manufacturing corridors as well. Have we seen any kind of pattern emerging as far as demand goes in different cities? Surabhi, you're on mute.
Okay, first of all, if we talk about city level, all the cities have, increased the search patterns, and all the cities are at least 10% above the pre-COVID levels in terms of search volumes. Now, the second most important trend which we have looked at is there is a high demand for 3 BHK apartments. So what is happening that
Maybe I'm
people
asking you the corridors where you see the demand. Are
yeah,
we-
I would come to that now. Now there is a lot of demand for 3 BHK, and people are looking for little bigger houses. But interestingly, at the same time, they are not increasing the budget. So most of the people, around 70% of the people, are looking in the budget range of up to 1 crore. So what it entails us and what we are seeing on our search patterns, that most of the demand is going towards periphery. And what is happening that the periphery, which are very well connected to the commercial hubs, are taking the lead. That was earlier also the case. But at the same time, people are hoping that the office will ultimately open, and there will be not a culture of 100% work from home. That is most of the people are expecting now. And maybe we will adopt, depending company to company, depending work to work, we will adopt a hybrid approach, where some people will be working from home, some people will be going to offices on a regular basis. So because of that, what we are seeing, there is still demand for the localities which are well connected, which are near commercial hub. There is also increased demand for plots. And for example, in Bangalore, we saw around 28% of the total demand is coming from for the plot properties. So these are the couple of trends which are driving demand in multiple corridors.
So data tells us that people seem to be don't mind moving towards the peripheries where their aspiration of a bigger home and small budgets can be met. Praveen ji, are you noticing this on the ground? क्या लोग peripheral areas में जा रहे हैं? And if so, places like Dharuheda, Nimrana, Manesar, Yamuna Expressway, बहादुरगढ़, सोनीपत वगैरह, यहाँ पे क्या हम उछाल देखेंगे?
देखिए, जहाँ पर कनेक्टिविटी बहुत अच्छी है वहाँ पर तो लोग मूव कर रहे हैं. जहाँ पर कनेक्टिविटी की कोई चैलेंज है वहाँ पर लोग अभी भी प्रेफर नहीं करते. जैसे हम धारोड़ा की बात करें, वहाँ कनेक्टिविटी बहुत अच्छी नहीं है अभी. मुझे लगता है मेट्रो आने के बाद शायद वो बेटर होगा. बट हाँ, अगर गुड़गांव में बात करें, अगर जैसे आपने धारोड़ा की बात की है, तो गुड़गांव के सबब्स में थोड़ा सा बाहर चले जाएं, जो न्यू गुड़गांव डेवलप हो रहा है, वहाँ पर डिमांड पहले से बड़ी है. और सोनीपत की तरफ भी इम्प्रूवमेंट है. जैसे अभी सुरभि ने बताया कि लैंड के अंदर बहुत तेज है प्रॉपर्टी, बल्कि मुझे लगता है दिल्ली एनसीआर की बात करें तो 40-50% अप है मार्केट पहले से. तो बट सबब्स में जहाँ पर कनेक्टिविटी अच्छी है वहाँ लोग प्रेफर कर रहे हैं जाना.
Errol, what are you seeing in Bangalore? Are people, which are the suburbs that are picking up? And do you think that the core city demand is actually slowing down?
Yes, I concur with what Surabhi was saying. Is that now, previously there used to be high demand for housing close to the IT clusters, typically around Outer Ring Road, Sarjapur Road, and to a certain extent, North Bangalore, Manyata, Tech Park, and around those areas. But now with the work from home coming to be the new normal, in fact, in Bangalore, as of now, 90% of the workforce is still working from home and is expected to continue to do so until May, I am told, when the situation will be reviewed. And even post that, it's going to be maybe twice a week, attend the office more for social and cultural reasons than for any other reason. So that being the case now, offices, or rather residences close to the office is no longer the priority. Schools and colleges are also online. People are now looking for quality of life. Don't mind, like Surabhi said, for the same budget, go further down, get a bigger place, more space, because everything is now happening around home, not just professionally, but also socially and culturally. You know, when you go further down, there's less choice of restaurants, and you don't have to travel. So people are then now visiting each other and having small get-togethers at home.
Ajay, what do you see in Mumbai? Which are the suburbs that are doing well, and how important is connectivity? Ajay, you're on mute.
Yeah, Mumbai, we all know connectivity is a very key issue. But overall, there is a large-scale development all in around Mumbai, and Thane is developing in a very big way. Navi Mumbai is still growing at a very hectic speed. Overall, Still, connectivity is working out with metros and all coming up. But I think overall there is a pickup in the market all around. So there is no issue as far as now Mumbai and peripheral for last 4 months that we are saying it's very hectic and the selling is pretty good. And it's still going on. It's not that the year has changed or the stamp duty has gone, so it is come down. It is still picking up.
Rajni, we did see a lot of people moving into the smaller cities. Everyone homed in. During the pandemic, the biggest trend was not only the migrants, but everybody who could go back home had gone back to the small cities. And there was a temporary rise in small cities. What is your view of tier 1, tier 2 cities? Do you think this is just a knee-jerk reaction, or this is the beginning of a new rise in smaller cities?
I think, Jayashree, there's going to be a combination of model that we are going to have going forward. So we saw a lot of people moving back to their hometowns during this pandemic. But I do not think this trend is going to majorly be sustained going forward. Because once things get back to normalcy, people will be and corporates will be keen to get their employees back to offices. So even though, they may give some flexibility, we are already seeing some of the corporates, they have announced very flexi work models. So even after the pandemic is over, they are going to give more flexibility, and probably a few days in the week you can work from home. So that model may continue like what Tatas have announced. But that doesn't necessarily mean that people will be able to work from anywhere. So right now, the people that we have seen going back to their hometown, I think a lot of them will be coming back as and when things return to normalcy. But yes, to some extent, IT companies, they have discovered that it was quite very conveniently and very nicely they were able to move to this model of work from anywhere. To some extent, hence, they would like to tap into the talent pool of smaller cities, which earlier they were not able to do. So to some extent, they will do that. Some of their employees will be working from tier 2 cities. They will experiment with that model. But I think that will be a small percentage and not a very big percentage. And it's not going to change the dynamics and demand for housing or for real estate in big cities.
Yeah, okay. Amit, I want you to comment on 2-3 things. The first is the peripheral locations. What is your view? Is it only going to be residential destinations, or do you eventually see that even small commercial or co-working spaces may come up there? Because one of the trends that Surbhi spoke about was people want that little workspace in your neighborhood, and complexes with a business center seem to be in demand. What are your views?
Jayashree, the question is, what are we talking about as peripheral? Are we meaning peripheral is the peripheries of the city, or are we talking about another city which is 30 kilometers down the line like a Sonipat? So that's the moot question that we need to answer here.
Yeah.
If we are talking about the peripheries of the city, yes, there is definitely move. A lot of IT companies are already on the periphery because a lot of IT companies are very cost conscious and they don't want to spend too much on a CBD location. So that's number one. I tend to disagree that there will be a huge change in the way people look to buy houses or want to be far away from their offices, because I think it's too premature to say that this is the death of the office space. I don't think that's going to happen. I worked 5 days a week for about 6 months during the pandemic and I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to get back to office and now I'm coming 5 days a week. If you look at the traffic in Delhi, it's nearly 80% of where it used to be. So traffic's going to play a big and huge role in people not wanting. It's that elasticity between wanting to go too far, getting better amenities at the same time. For example, if you're in Bangalore and if your office is in Outer Ring Road or anywhere, you want to be as close as you possibly can be. If your office is in Electronic City, you want to be living in Electronic City. I don't think that's going to change. The pandemic is temporary. It is likely to be coming to an end. And you're going to work in your office until you retire, which is at least 30 years down the line, right? So I don't think people are going to be so fleeting in their decision to where they want to be. So I do agree with Rajni that yes, people are going to be looking at, companies are already looking at tier 2 locations. But the challenge that you have in tier 2 locations is the talent pool is not as big as, say, a Bangalore. So if I'm an IT company and I want full stack developers, IT developers, Bangalore is the place to be because that is where your talent pool is. I can't see people going to a tier 3 city. Yes, you may want to have, yes, there are savings and I'm not disputing that, but there is a limit to which the number of people that you can employ. There will be though those odd cities which are very close to, let's say, major metros where there are a lot of people. For example, a lot of people in Bangalore probably come from Kerala. I'm just giving you hypothetically an example. Yes, those people may want to go back to their hometowns and work from their hometowns. So yes, to that extent, I agree. But I don't see an en masse, Bangalore being decimated and they're being created anew. I think we are, that's stretching it a way too far.
Let's move to policies, the impact of policies on these new moves. Surbhi, are there any policies that you would like to call out that seem to have impacted how the RBI has responded, how the government has responded, finance, taxation, anything?
So I think the main, we have seen a lot of transaction happening in Mumbai. And I think the stamp duty reduction has worked well for MMR region. And
especially because we gave it as a time-bound thing.
Yes. So a lot of yes. So a lot of fence sitter who were planning to do the decision and they were very uncertain what they should be doing. I think they are taking a move, and that's why the registry numbers are showing up, and they are almost at the pre-COVID levels, and even in some cases it is more than that. Beside that, the interest rates are all-time low, and home loan rates are anywhere. You can get if your civil score is good, you can get a home loan at 6.5% as well. So home loan rates are also very less. Beside, in troubled times, generally, it happens that people look for investment in real assets, and real estate is one of the favorite asset for Indians. And it's not only in India, it is happening across the world. If we look at the real estate prices, they are going up across the world, and that is the same search volume trend we can see in Australia and in UK and other markets. So that's another thing. Regarding other policies, such as the government has really come up well regarding the giving the stimulus plan for the real estate. RERA is in place now. There is more transparency in the market. Developers are also focusing on completing their projects. So a lot of good things happened in last 2-3 years in the real estate market. So I think these policies are going to work very well for 2021 and 2022.
प्रवीण जी, जैसे सुरभि ने बताया 3-4 पॉलिसीज तो पहले आ चुकी थी. डिमोनेटाइजेशन हुआ था, रेरा आया था, GST was in place, but there has been a very quick response, and it's not necessarily huge, infusing huge amount of liquidity, but very planned interventions, Atmanirbhar Bharat and so on. Praveen ji, which are the policies you think is पिछले 10 महीने में which you think have been good interventions?
देखिए, जो हाउसिंग लोन के रेट कम हुए हैं, ये काफ़ी अच्छा कदम है. मुझे लगता है इसके अलावा जो स्वामी फंड बनाया था, ऑल्दो वो उतना रिलीज नहीं हुआ जितना होना था, 25,000 करोड़ रुपए का फंड था, वो बहुत कम लोगों को उसका बेनिफिट मिला है. और मुझे लगता है इसके अलावा जो बहुत ज़रूरी है आने वाले टाइम के अंदर सरकार के लिए, कि वो जो रुके हुए प्रोजेक्ट हैं उनको किसी तरह से पूरा किया जाए. जो आज NPA हो रहे हैं अकाउंट, या पिछले 6 महीने में 8 महीने में NPA हुए हैं लॉकडाउन के दौरान, उनको दोबारा उसको रीस्ट्रक्चर किया जाए. वो एक बहुत बड़ा बूस्ट होगा. जो पहले हुआ है वो तो होम लोन का मुझे लगता है काफी बड़ा एक बेनिफिट था लोगों कंज्यूमर्स के लिए.
Errol, policy and real estate responses to that. You're on mute.
Hoping that the budget will be very pragmatic this time around. At the real estate front, we are really suffering because we do not have GST, the input credit as a benefit with GST. And
actually, it was there for the real estate. I think the developers
there, it was withdrawn. Yes, it was withdrawn.
Yeah,
that's a very retrograde step. And the whole basis of GST was to give you the benefit of input credit on all the materials that you purchase. And on some materials like cement, when you're paying 28%, I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah.
So on top of that, you collect 5% from customers.
Be changed?
I hope and pray they do it. I certainly hope and pray they do it.
Okay.
We were shocked that they withdrew it in the first place. So.
But they dropped, I mean, the demand was to drop the GST rates, and they dropped the GST rates and remove the input credit. And one section of developers did ask for it. Many developers did ask for it.
Yes, but some of the developers did ask for it, and I don't want to go into the pros and cons of that on national TV. We all know the reasons why they asked for it, but we here in South India feel very, very strongly about it. And it's a
Have
lot
you
of
made
developers from the north want it because you know how the transactions are conducted there. But here in the south, where everything is above board, we would very, very much want GST to be back with the benefit of input credit.
Input credit. Okay. Ajay, what policies do you think have impacted the market most? And I would like your feedback also on input credit.
Yeah, as I had mentioned, all the three policies the state government took have really impacted here for the last 4 months. And as far as the central government is concerned, rightly said, the GST it needs to be worked on. Second, most important is the income tax. Only 2 lakhs is given for the taxation benefit, which is a very, very small amount as compared to what actually the outflow is. So and that is something which is like rightfully limiting it to 2 lakhs is something very absurd. If that can be really changed, it will really help in this budget. And also, what needs to be done is the rationalization of GST. Still, there are so many issues in GST regarding JV proposals, joint venture proposals. There is a lot of absurdity. Taxation, for the redevelopment, there is a lot of absurdity where GST is charged on the flat owners. All those things need to be worked. This nitty-gritty, small teething problems which have remained from the day GST is come in. So GST needs to be really addressed. I think the government needs to look at the perspective from the end user and keep it in the right perspective. It will only help in increasing the GST and increasing the turnovers. If that is done, I think it will really help go a long way to improve the market.
Rajni, I'm going to come to you. Talk about the economy, talk about consumer sentiment, and talk about policies that can actually impact consumer sentiment, industry sentiment.
Jayashree, not just for the real estate sector, in fact, for whole of the economy, what is really required now is demand boosting measures. So if we look at whatever the government announced in the last year post-pandemic, the big package that we had of around 20 lakh crore, most of it was through liquidity measures, credit availability measures, which was much required at that point. I wouldn't deny that. But now what is really required is demand boosting measures. And government has been kind of shying away from that. And we understand why that has been happening. That's mainly because of the fiscal constraints that the government has. We are all aware that government's revenue was very badly hit during the pandemic, and hence it's difficult for them to come up with further demand boosting measures. But what I would say is that in this budget, for the time being, government should leave aside fiscal constraints and fiscal concerns and focus more on growth boosting measures, because then eventually that will also indirectly take care of fiscal constraints. Because unless there is, consumer spending happening, unless people have more money in their pockets, anyways, government revenue collection will be adversely impacted. So it's very important for growth to pick up. And in that sense, even for real estate sector, what I would say is that yes, some of the measures that were announced were very good, like definitely RBI cutting the home loan interest rate, which we spoke about. Then this loan moratorium and loan restructuring, all those were much required. But now what will really help is that if government comes up with some announcement which directly impacts demand. So in terms of some income tax benefit for housing, more than what is already being done, will be a big boost. And here I would like to mention that if we see the case of Maharashtra, what has happened is with the stamp duty cut, not only have the developers and the buyers benefited, we have seen a big jump in housing sales. But the important thing to note is that the state government has also benefited. If I look at the state government revenue collection post the stamp duty cut, it has been rising on a monthly basis. So the cut in duty has been more than compensated by the jump in sales. So is a very good example for the other states also to follow, because anyways, the state government as well as the central government, the revenues have been adversely impacted with this economic slowdown. But we have seen in the case of Maharashtra that with this particular announcement, that has actually helped them to increase their revenue, a duty cut. So similarly, if something is applied at a central level and also by other states, it will help not just in terms of boosting demand, but also the state and central government in terms of higher revenue collection.
Right. In fact, compliance always comes when the taxes are lowered. There are many examples to show that the lower your taxes, the more the compliance and the better your collections, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Amit, what do you expect budget 2021 to deliver?
What do I expect, or what would I want to see?
I like to see.
Yeah. What I expect is what Rajni said. I don't expect too many cuts. The government is short of funds and they would not be able to mop up. But I do believe there are some degrees of demand boosters. Ultimately, we are all dependent on how the economy does. More stability in jobs, more opportunities in the market, higher GDP. That all leads indirectly, I mean, not indirectly, it leads directly, it's very directly proportional to your ability to want to buy a house. So I would definitely like to see demand boosters, and something which is really close to me, close to my heart, is having a policy in place that helps restart a lot of the stalled projects. And I'm based out of North India. That's a big bane. So if you have we had that fund in the past which was looking at, that Praveenji mentioned, which was looking at restarting this project. I think that will be a huge morale booster to the consumers if that scope is increased. So currently it is limited to the projects that can avail that benefit. Maybe if that scope is increased, then a lot more people will benefit, and that will be a huge morale booster for the industry.
Praveenji, I'm going to come to you. He referred directly to the North India market and what you expect. What do you expect in this budget? What have you asked for?
देखिए, दो तीन चीजें हैं। तो जैसे हमने भी पीछे प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस भी की थी, उसमें कहा था, ये बात कही थी कि अभी अगर एक घर बेचते हैं आप, पहले दो घर का प्रोविजन अभी है इनकम टैक्स में, अगर आप एक प्रॉपर्टी बेच के दो प्रॉपर्टी खरीद सकते हैं। मुझे लगता है कि वो लिमिट खत्म होना चाहिए कि अगर मेरे दो बच्चे हैं और मैं प्रॉपर्टी अगर बेच के, बड़ी प्रॉपर्टी साउथ दिल्ली की बेच के, और मैं अगर गुड़गांव में जाता हूँ या कहीं और सबब्स में जाता हूँ और 4 प्रॉपर्टी या 3 प्रॉपर्टी लेना चाहता हूँ या एक रेंटल के लिए, तो वो लिमिट हमने गवर्नमेंट को कहा है कि वो एटलीस्ट 2-3 साल के लिए खत्म करें। वो एक बहुत बड़ा मतलब इससे हाउसिंग को बूस्ट मिलेगा। जो 2 लाख रुपए के लिमिट की बात कर रहे हैं, 2 लाख रुपए जो बेनिफिट मिलता है, वो अगर बढ़ा के 5 लाख या 7 लाख रुपए किया जाए, तो वो 2-3 इस तरह की चीजें हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं।
Aaron, what are you looking for in the budget?
Yeah, first, I'd like to see personal income tax come down from 43% to at least below 30%. And also
I love you for that. I think they have to put more money in the.
I really don't know what a finance minister was thinking about when she increased it to 43%. I mean, on the corporate front, they have done exceedingly well to bring it down to 25%. But on the personal level, you take it to 43%. We don't have social security in India, so we can't compare ourselves to the West. And let's not talk of the infrastructure and other issues here. I mean, so we're paying 43% for what?
Yeah.
That's on one side of it. And then also the partnership firms and LLPs. If you want to get them, mainstream, you want to participate, you want them to participate in the main line of the economy, you also have to streamline taxation for them. Otherwise, you're going to have a second economy anyways. You're forcing people.
Yes.
Because it becomes very, very expensive to do business in India otherwise.
The promise of a GST was that if you pay a tax on everything that you buy, your personal taxation direct taxes will come down. But that promise does not seem to hold, right?
It should have come down, yes.
Yes.
And then, of course, as any other businessman, we hope the numerous hurdles and red tape that is there to start business or do business in India is brought down whatever she can do in the budget in terms of finances. For example, in real estate in Karnataka, we've got more than 20 NOCs to apply for. permissions and rules before you can start a project. And unlike other industries, once you start an industry, right, then you get going. Every time you start a project, it's like starting a new industry. It's like putting up a new factory. And you can imagine the pain points we have to go through. And of course, then we are working on the inverse duty structure. There's a huge amount of taxation on building materials, starting from cement, 28%, tiles, paint materials, and so on and so forth. If all these can be rationalized and made affordable, as you said, lower taxation brings in more revenues, which will, feed on itself and bring in more revenue for the government.
Ajay, they spoke about how to boost demand, but Maharashtra seems to have boosted demand. What more would you like to see?
From the state government or from the central government? Central government. Yeah, as I told you, this budget, we are seeing a lot of things. There are certain still issues. Environmental clearances is a very big issue still. They had come out with the policy where they were increasing the size of the plot where environmental issues would not be there. It needs to be still streamlined. It has to be delegated to the lowest level. That is one permission which is taking such a long time still, which is not helping the cause of the developers. No projects can be done now without an financial closure, and with the money running out, the interest rate still being high as far as developers are concerned, it is very important that permissions come in quickly. So environmental issues needs to be addressed. Again, the ATIBA, which was coming to a closure in the 31st March this year, should be extended, which is giving a big boost. More benefits to the PMAY projects which are coming up. A lot of them are coming up in Maharashtra. More benefits should be given. 2.5 lakh should be raised. This will all boost up demand, which will help again the overall market scenario. The economy, I personally feel the revival of the economy is almost 60% based on the real estate industry reviving. If the real estate industry revives, then the economy revives. And overall, there will be 360-degree turnaround. So these certain policies which need to be taken, have to be taken. Some hard decisions have to be taken at the top in the center.
Rajni, two ways of putting more money in the till, with the consumer, with the developer. Clearly, both need that money, and finance has been one of the stumbling blocks for real estate.
So you're asking me in what ways can they put more?
Yeah.
Okay. So one, like we have been discussing, if there is the income tax benefit which is there for housing, which is right now in that principal amount, housing loan principal amount is clubbed under that 1.5 lakh with other investment also. If we get exclusive 1.5 lakh separately for housing loan, that would help. Second, what I want to emphasize is that also if there needs to be more done for the affordable housing segment. So the government so far has been, announcing measures for affordable housing segment. In fact, the supply in this segment has been increasing with increased focus of government on the affordable housing segment. But I would say on the demand side, pickup has not been the way we would have wanted it to be, or the way even the government would have wanted it to be. Given that it's a known fact that the requirement for housing is huge in India. The supply is there, but still that, that requirement is not getting fructified in terms of demand. So something affordable needs to be made more affordable for people. And that's where I think the government needs to do more on the affordable housing segment front. CLSS is there, but if they increase the ambit of it, the benefit that they're getting out of it, that will help.
Sure. I believe Praveenji wants to go. Praveenji, any closing remarks from you? Then you may want to do. Praveenji? Praveenji, can you hear me? Praveenji, can you hear me? Okay. Amit, affordable housing is something that... Praveenji, are you talking? No, I think we've lost him. Amit, affordable housing is coming. 2022 was the target, 75th year of Indian independence, a roof over every Indian family's head. How close are we to it? And do you think that is something that needs to be enhanced? I think Rajni touched a very, very important point that, you know, we have expanded the scope of the affordable housing, but I think the lower part of that segment, which really needs intervention, that needs to come through policy intervention and a social objective, right?
So Jayashree, it was a very ambitious plan, and I personally believe that you have to set your goals and objectives very high, and that's when you achieve at least 70-80% of where you want to be. So to assume that we would have achieved 100% and a house on top of everyone's head is I think was very ambitious to start with, but it was a very lofty goal and one that a country like ours, when we want to be amongst the elite nations, that is something that we should aspire for. So that's number one. Number two is I do believe there should be a lot more focus on affordable housing. And I think the biggest stumbling block that we have for affordable housing is how do you get so the most of the people who are going to buy affordable housing are not in the formal sector. How do you ensure there is financing for those people who are not in the formal sector, so to say? How do you get money in their hands? How do you get them the benefit of being able to take a home loan and buy a house? To me, that's the biggest stumbling block that needs to be sorted out. Third part of it is I do believe that capping it at about 500 or 600 square feet is not really fair, especially for, let's say, a city like Delhi. What do you get at? I mean, the price point is more beneficial rather than capping it at that. So maybe one of the challenges we have is that when we put this cap and limitations into play, that's the reason why we really don't see the kind of benefit that we will be able to get. But again, having said that, the biggest challenge is to be able to get money into the hands of people, the bottom end of the pyramid, so that they are able to buy the house. To me, there has to be policies to take care of that.
Surbhi, talk about our data. At one point of time, we saw that consumers search on portals for that kind of housing that is there on the ground. Today, there is whether we are 100% achieved, we've 100% achieved or not, there is some amount of movement at the base of the pyramid, and there is housing on the ground in that level. Are we seeing that translate into searches on the site? And are we seeing that kind of housing up to 30 lakh? Are we seeing growing numbers of those?
Okay, so we have looked at the data. The supply is increasing. In Q4, there is definitely an increase in supply. But at the same time, supply is increasing for all kind of real estate, not only affordable housing. There is high demand for premium projects as well. A lot of markets such as Noida, especially if you see NCR market, we have seen mostly the premium projects are getting launched in the market. So affordable housing, last 2-3 years, there is definitely an increase in supply, but at the same time, there is more needs to be done at supply front. Secondly, when we talk about the affordable housing for middle class, it needs to be a little more amenities wise, little more rich, because we have seen a lot of projects in Gurgaon which come under affordable housing, but at the same time the demand from middle class for this particular housing is not that much. So what I believe that yes, affordable housing supply needs to be there more. We should be putting more incentives for developers for developing that kind of housing. Yes.
Okay. So in a nutshell, policy has intervened. The market has given its verdict. If you need one kind of housing, you will go out and buy it. And even real estate has actually is being considered as a real asset. Policy needs to go much further. The economy, the government needs to balance between its fiscal prudence and how to spur demand. But at the end of the day, this has been a roller coaster year, and we see that the consumers have given thumbs up to real estate as a segment. Thank you so much for joining me in the Property Show. I'm Jayashree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.